The Artificer is the least loved child of D&D officially. It is the only class not in the player's handbook and is therefore the one that gets the least amount of attention. It's also the only one that third-party creators can't really make spells for if they want to make money, which they should, because they're doing stuff. And you should get paid if you're doing stuff. We do, however, have a few new subclasses for it. There are 2 third-party ones, and there's 2 brand new ones now in 5.5e, and I thought it would be fun to tier rank them. I'll be doing the same for all of the classes in alphabetical order, including the third-party ones, covering the stuff in 5.5 that is on D&D Beyond. There's a lot of it for some of the classes. I don't know how long these videos are going to be. This one should be the shortest one. We'll see how it goes. Well, apart from the Monster Hunter. And the No, I think the Pugilist has more subclasses actually, so I think it's just the Monster Hunter. Anyway, my name's Jason. This is my channel, The Dungeon Himbo, where I talk about all kinds of things, including resorting to tier lists to appease the gods of ranking things. The last video did well, the one I did on Epic Boons, so I figure we give this a shot and see how it goes. If you all enjoy it, then we keep going. I don't mind doing them, to be fair. And of course, if you like the sound of any of that, please subscribe. It helps a fair bit, as it turns out. And we have a Discord if you want to come and hop in and chat. So the way that we're going to go about this is I will be ranking things. You understand how that works. We have 2 screens. We have this screen. Hello. This is the tier screen. As you can see, we've gone for the same rating system as before, but this time I'm up here in the top right corner. Hello. So I'm not in the way of the word text library. And who is this for? These are my S rank is, I want it to be there. S rank is more than enough. These are the ones which are just good all the time. Fantastic. A is enough for some. These are good if you have specific player fantasies. Subclasses are a little harder to rank than Epic Boons because in terms of a player fantasy, it really depends on what your player fantasy is. So I'm going to be talking more about the power level and the tools and the way that they all work together from a subclass perspective. And then just enough is B, C is not enough, and then D is who is this for? I don't think any of the subclasses here in this one will end up in who is this for. I have a few that I think would in other classes, but the Artificer, while not the most powerful class, has I think the most stable kind of highs and lows when it comes to the subclasses. At least here, this version of me now, not having done the rest of the series yet. So we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about the Alchemist. This is how we're going to do this. We're going to talk about the features, subclass features. I'm not going to go into a deep dive into everything. I'm just going to give my general thoughts. So with the Alchemist, you get tools of the trade, you get alchemist supplies and a herbalist kit and proficiency for both, and you take half as much time to brew a potion, which is already half as much time than it would be to brew a normal magic item, making that a pretty effective way to just spew out potions, basically. Certainly healing potions, which can be pretty handy. The spell list is Healing Word, Ray of Sickness, Flaming Sphere, Mel's Acid Arrow, Gaseous Form, Mass Healing Word, Death Ward, Vitriolic Sphere, Cloud Kill and Raise Dead. It's pretty support focused, despite the Flaming Sphere and stuff on there. Having access to Healing Word and Mass Healing Word is a big win, 100%, if you're looking to play a support character. And then obviously the main feature of the subclass is the Experimental Elixir. This lets you make 2 elixirs once per day for free during a long rest. Basically, when you finish a long rest, technically it happens, but it doesn't take any time, so it may as well be during a long rest. The elixirs magically appear in a vial, and both the vial and the elixir disappear when drunk. A fun bit of magic. Technically, I guess that comes from the Tinkerer's magic from the main class. You do not get to choose these elixirs, at least not as is standard. You have to roll a d6 for them, and then you either get a healing one which boosts speed, one which effectively is bless, although technically it's not bless. You roll a d4 once, and then you add that number to all of your attack rolls and saving throws for the next minute. So it's not bless, it's just a boost, which means that it could be 1, which is fine, or it could be 4, which is amazing. It does not have the epic highs and lows of standard bless. Oh, it could be flight. Flight is good, but also some species already have flight, and flight is easier to get during subclasses as well. Not to mention, Broom of Flying exists, and if you're following the standard DMG crafting rules, it's also preposterously easy to craft one. So don't let your players craft Brooms of Flying. Sorry, players. Normally I'm on your side. 6, you get to choose whichever one it is. You drink these as a bonus action, or you can administer them to another creature as a bonus action, and you can also, as a magic action, make one using a spell slot. You get to choose whichever you want when you do that, and you get more as you level up. The feature is cool in theory. I kind of feel like this about anything where you're rolling on a table and it is predominantly random. You have a 16.666666667 chance of getting to choose which one you want because you can roll a 6, which means that technically you have a 33% chance of getting the one that you want, because you could roll the dice and hit the one that you want, and you could also roll a 6 and therefore get to choose the one you want. You get 2 chances at that. I can't think of the maths off the top of my head. You probably have like a 40% chance or something of getting the one you want. Off the top of my head, do not shout at me about mathematical stuff. I'm a little guy. The randomness means that you're at the behest of your dice luck, which can vary. Luck obviously isn't a real thing. It's just statistical anomalies which you apply value to and blah, 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 blah. We're not going into this. It's not the video for this. I really like the feature. I really do like the feature. But also, while some of these are pretty solid as a spell slot, let's take the healing one, for example, right? 2d8 plus your intelligence modifier is a level 1 cure wounds. I think it's still 2d8. Might be 48. I'm pretty sure it's level 1. Spending a first level spell slot to get a healing one is actually pretty good. So pumping your spell slots into these, maybe at the beginning of the day, basically, isn't a horrible way of doing things. You also don't erase the other ones when you do so. So if you want to spend all of your level 1 spell slots on getting these, I think that's a pretty cool way of doing things. However, when you're using a second level spell slot to get one of these, it's immediately worse value, unfortunately. So yeah, level 5 you get a alchemical savant, which allows you to cast your spells and deal extra damage or heal when casting spells through your alchemist supplies that deal acid, fire, or poison damage. So that's a little bump. The bonus is equal to your intelligence modifier. It's a little bit of a boost. It doesn't have to be your leveled spell, so if you've chosen firebolt somehow, that's good. It also doesn't say specifically. Technically you can only use your alchemist supplies as your spellcasting thing. I think that's what it says for your artificer spells, right? So the ones you get from magic initiate wouldn't count. It's so silly. Anyway, that's fine. It's a very minor bump. Other subclasses in this class are getting extra attack, which is substantially better, if a little less interesting. Level 9, you get Restorative Regents. This gives you lesser restoration once per long rest, I believe. Yep, for free, which is nice. Oh, it's actually a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. Lesser restoration is solid. It lets you cure blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned, but I'd argue it's a little niche. And at level 9, getting access to a second level spell, let's say 4 times per long rest, is okay. But that's all you can use it for, which is a shame because Artificer's spell slots aren't exactly plentiful. You've then got your final level feature, which is a Chemical Mastery. This allows you to add 2d8 extra damage to your acid, fire, or poison spells when you cast them, as long as it is an artificer spell this time. You gain resistance to acid and poison damage and immunity to the poison condition, and you get Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron, which is a 6th level spell, which lets you make a bunch of potions once without a spell slot. It's an interesting enough one. The trouble isn't the cohesion for the Alchemist, I think it's the overall power level. All of this is cool, all of it is a little undertuned, in my opinion, and I don't think that's just my opinion. I'm going to put this at B. I actually think it's a really good baseline level for what the Artificer can do. It's fine. The fantasy is great, but it's not fulfilling the fantasy of being an alchemist as well as other third-party subclasses can do for other classes. The one that comes to mind is the Plague Doctor Wizard from Grim Hollow. As somebody that consumes a lot of these third-party books via reading and reviews and everything else, my benchmarks are very different to some of the other people on the internet doing these lists, which is why I don't mind doing them. Next, the Armourer. People really like the Armourer. I have an Armourer in one of my campaigns, but I've homebrewed a bunch of changes for them, so they can absorb magic items into their weapons and stuff to keep things fun. Anyway, level 3, you get training with heavy armor, proficiency with smith tools, and when you make non-magical or magic armor, the time required to craft is halved. Armor is good. Having halved time on that is good. You also get Magic Missile and Thunderwave as your level 3 spells, Mirror Image and Shatter, Hypnotic Pattern and Lightning Bolt, Fire Shield and Greater Invisibility, and then Pass Wall and Wall of Force. This is a really solid spell list, especially with the spell storing item in mind, which I didn't mention with the Artificer because it's just not as good. Lightning Bolt is good in your spell storing item, but so is Hypnotic Pattern. 10 casts of Hypnotic Pattern, I believe you'd get. It is a lot of just stopping everyone doing stuff. Yes, you have to concentrate on it, but if you're in a campaign where you're doing a lot of encounters, that's going to feel absolutely incredible. So I really like the spell list. You can also modify armor basically during a long, it's just as a magic action, which is ridiculous. You remove the strength requirement, which is nice, but just for you. You can don or doff it as a utilize action. It's really weird that they still use don and doff and not just put on or take off. The armor also can't be removed against your will, and you can use your armor as a spellcasting focus, which means that your hands are free, which can be good if you have a stickler of a DM. You get 3, is it 3? Infiltrator, Guardian, and Dreadnought. Yeah, 3 different models here. You can change the model on a short or a long rest, which is nice. The Dreadnought is the big lad. It has better range and it deals 1d10 force damage. It can move people, and as a bonus action you can get real big, which is nice. The Guardian has the Thunder Pulse weapon, which is a simple weapon which deals 1d8 thunder damage. Creature hit by the pulse is basically taunted by you. And while bloodied, you can gain temp health, which is nice, but you have to be bloodied, which makes that bonus action pretty naff, to be perfectly honest. Armorers are going to have decent ACs the vast majority of the time, so having something that only triggers when you're bloodied might feel bad. And then the Infiltrator has the ranged weapons, 90 feet, and a long range of 300 feet, which is a lot. It does 1d6 for lightning damage, and you can deal an extra 1d6 once per turn when you hit a creature with a launcher, making it technically, for one hit, better than any of the other weapons, and also ranged. Also, your speed increases by 5, and you get advantage on stealth checks. If you have disadvantage normally because of the armor, they cancel each other out. This is really, really good. I get why people like the armorer. The flexibility is huge. The ability to change on a short or long rest is great. There's no way to change in combat, not rules as written, which I think is a shame, because I think being able to use your level 6 Artificer feature where you can change magic items into other magic items, I think the ability to on your armor is cool, which is what my player can do. I want you all to be jealous of how generous of a DM I am. This is why I talk about this stuff. Very normal reaction. The damage is fine. The issue with the damage isn't in this level. We'll talk about damage shortly. Level 5, you get extra attack. Oh, you can use your intelligence for your attacks too. That's a big part of the appeal. Level 9, you get improved armor. What do you get for your improved armor? You get a free replicate magic item for an armor, which is nice. That's just good. I'm not pooping on that. You can make someone a shield, make yourself a shield. You just get it for free, basically, on top of everything else you get. And you get a +1 bonus to both your attack and your damage rolls with your arcane armor model. Oh, it's awful. Truly awful. Just the worst. I hate it. I hate that part. The armor replication, fantastic. Amazing. 10 out of 10. The +1 bonus is awful because, again, this comes into rules and interpretations. Theoretically, you can make a fire tongue of any melee weapon you have access to, right? This is how it works. The fire tongue is more of an infusion kind of thing. You can make it for any melee weapon there is. Your magical weapons are technically melee weapons. So theoretically, you could also make a +1 of your weapons because you can make a +1 weapon. You can do that a while ago. You can make a +2 of your weapon too. So with that in mind, this is a free bonus to that. It doesn't state that you can modify your arcane armor weapons in the rules blatantly though, which means that this is something you're going to have to talk to your DM about. And anything where you have to talk to your DM about means that there's a chance that they could say no. And what can you do about that? Nothing. It's their game. It's it's a shared experience, obviously. But there's not much you can do about that. There's also the fact that the armor, as cool as it is, locks you out of magic items and magic weapons, generally speaking, unless you can infuse your ones with the things, which means that you're always just doing pushing, or just doing taunting, or just doing an extra d6. So it's just a bit naff. And this +1 bonus never gets any better. Let's talk about level 15. You get a damage die increase. Your 1d10 goes to 2d6, which is 1.5 points better on average. You also get better reach, which is nice. The Guardian goes from, what was the Guardian? 1d8? Yeah, 1d8 to 1d10, which is a 1 point average damage increase. And the Infiltrator goes up to 2d6 from 1d6, which you will note is twice as good. That's how numbers work. I don't understand why it's not the same for all of them. Why isn't the Dreadnought 2d10? Why isn't the Guardian 2d8? What is going on here? Whose idea was this? Who did this? There's a bonus speed, you can fly as the Infiltrator, and you can do some other stuff. It's cool, right? But it frustrates me so much that a lot of this first party stuff cannot do scaling properly. They are, I think, scared of making stuff too overpowered, and I think that's where a lot of the pullbacks come from in some of these features. But the Artificer already has it kind of rough as a half-caster, in my opinion. The half-caster subclasses in general are a bit wobbly. The Paladin feels amazing if you're running 1 combat a day. If you're running more than that, you don't have access to most of your stuff if you're spamming out smites and stuff. So I like that the Infiltrator goes up to 2d6. I wish the others scaled in the same way. It would make more sense for it to be linear scaling across the board rather than let's just guess, which is kind of how it feels. I like the armorer. I do. I don't think it's A-worthy. I think it's better than the Alchemist, but I don't think it's by as much as people like to think. I think the lack of clarification in the rules as to whether or not you can turn your infiltrator gauntlets into fire tongue, well, not the fire tongue, but you can't like +3 them, right? Or make them some other cool thing, restricts how powerful it can be. If you can augment your weapons, it's amazing. But you're also only getting so many magic plans, and you have to be really selfish with your magic plans in 5.5e, I feel like, to make the Artificer work. So yeah, it's all right. I feel like there's a chance I didn't change the screen back when I went back to the Alchemist. But if you've already commented on that, I'm vaguely aware of it now. My bad. As you can see, I've understood my folly. It won't happen again, probably. Battlesmith! I think this is generally considered the best one of the bunch. Tools of trade, smith's tools, non-magical and magical weapons, your heart time is halved, cool. Spells, heroism and shield. Shield is... You get Shining Smite, Warding Bond, Aura of Vitality, Conjure Barrage, Aura of Purity, Fire Shield, Banishing Smite, and Mass Cure Wounds. Mass Cure Wounds. This is a weird spell list. It's a really strong spell list, but there's no specific theme here outside of you're in a fight. Conjure Barrage is obviously an absolutely preposterously good thing to stick in your spell storing item. One of the best things you can have. So that's nice. Battle Ready, you can use your intelligence to attack instead of your strength or dex for the attack and damage rolls. And you gain proficiency with martial weapons. Just all of them. You can also use your weapons as a spellcasting focus, which is great. And you get your Steel Defender, who is a little dude who's friendly to you. You have to use your bonus action to command it. Otherwise it just takes the dodge action. Technically, if you are a small creature, you can ride it, which I do think is probably the best way to do this, both from a general power view, but also because it's funny. Hard to argue with it being funny. But then you're using the mounted combat rules instead of the other rules that you're using here, which means that it can also dash for free because of how the rules work, I think, maybe? It's like the layer stuff in MTG. It can be a little complicated. Anyway, the Steel Defender is fine. It can interfere with stuff, it can heal some stuff, and it has a 1d8 +2 plus your intelligence modifier force damage, which is not bad. That's worse. Statistically speaking, that's going to be worse than a lot of weapons you could be using, but not worse than all of the weapons you could be using. You can replace one of your attacks at level 5. Let's go to level 5. You get extra attack, and also you can swap one of your attacks for the Steel Defender's attacks. This is good if you're spread out, but kind of pointless otherwise. You probably have magic items. Your magic weapons are probably a lot better than the Steel Defender's, making this neat and hard to justify. Arcane Jolt at level 9. Whenever you hit a target with an attack roll using a magic weapon or your Steel Defender, you can channel magic energy to either do 2d6 extra force damage, or choose a creature you can see within 30 feet of the target and heal them for 2d6. You can do this a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. It's a little baby smite. Is a treat. 4 to 5 times per long rest, which is nice. I kind of wish you could spend spell slots on it. I don't know that I would spend spell slots on it, but I like the flexibility. And then level 15, you get an improved defender. It's such a short subclass compared to the others. The extra damage and healing of your Arcane Jolt goes up to 4d6. Oh look, scaling. They can do it. And whenever your Steel Defender uses its deflect attack, which is imposing disadvantage, the attacker takes force damage equal to 1d4 plus your intelligence modifier. That's awful and bad and should be thrown into a bin and shamed, as we should do with all of the bad features. That's a very hard stance to take, isn't it? I think I need a haircut. ADHD. Anyway, this is both one of the simpler and one of the stronger subclasses in the Artificer realm. Ultimately, the Arcane Jolt is a nice bit of flexibility to have, and because you can just use magic items and magic weapons, there's no ambiguity about whether or not you can buff your attacks. You are using fantastical attacks. You can be ranged, you can be melee, you can be throwing daggers, you can do whatever you want, basically, and the spell list is a banger, and weapons are good. So having half the time to craft them is good, and you get better at stuff. That's what this is, right? We love scaling on features. I love scaling on features. So, Artillerist, I think is A. I don't think it's S. I don't think any of the subclasses here are S. That's not the Artillerist. I skipped the Artillerist. That was the Battlesmith. Alright, let's go back into the Artillerist. Hold on. Sorry, Artillerist. I like the Artillerist and everything. Artillerist is martial ranged weapons, woodcarver's tools. Time to craft wands is halved. Wands are good. Being able to craft lots of wands of magic missile is cool and nifty, and I like it, especially because you can give it to your homunculus, who can be like pew pew pew. Pew, 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 but magically. Spells. You get Shield, Thunderwave, Scorching Ray, Shatter, Fireball, Wind Wall, Ice Storm, Wall of Fire, Cone of Cold, and Wall of Force. God, this spell list is good. This is probably the strongest spell list of the bunch. I don't think anyone can argue with that. It has Fireball and Shield. There are other spells too. I'm sure those are relevant. It's just a fantastic spell list. It really, really is. While you do get proficiency with ranged weapons, I do think the intended way to play Artillerist is that you are pew-pewing out with cantrips, as we'll talk about shortly, and then using a magic option for your Eldritch Cannon, which you can make. I have issues with the Eldritch Cannon. You can make one of these per long rest unless you spend a spell slot, and you can only have one at a time, and it lasts until it is reduced to 0 hit points, which is very reasonable, or an hour, which is very unreasonable. How come the Steel Defender can just be all the time, forever, and the Eldritch Cannon only gets to stick around for an hour? Because the cannon's better, I assume, is the logic there. And I get that, but that doesn't seem especially fair, because you have to spend a magic action to make it work. And if your fights are spread out throughout the day, you're spending a bunch of spell slots in this too. I mean, it's probably worth it. The cannon is a tiny object, so it doesn't get a normal stat block. It can Flamethrower, which is a 15-foot cone of 2d8. It can Force Ballista, which is a 120-foot range of 2d8 but on a hit instead of a save, and then it can Protector, which gives some temp health, 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier. The Protector feature is really, really cool. The Flamethrower is really, really cool. The Force Ballista is not as good. Ultimately, 2d8 as a spell save in an AoE is better than 2d8 as a ranged attack, because you can miss with a ranged attack and do no damage, and the Flamethrower can hit more than one creature. So even if you hit 2 creatures and they both fail, it's the same as you hitting one creature damage-wise, but spread across 2 creatures instead. But it does mean that you have to be sort of close by, because 15 feet isn't that much. Yeah. I love the cannon. It's cool. I really like the Artillerist. My Artificer that I am playing as was an Artillerist before I changed the subclass. At level 5, when you finish a long rest, you can carve some sigils into a thing you're using. These disappear, blah, 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 blah. Basically, when you're casting a spell through your arcane firearm, the spell does an extra 1d8, which is why I think this is meant to be a cantrip. Blaster, perfectly reasonable. Doesn't bolster your cannon at all, though. So that's a bit of a weird one. Also, this is just unconditional, and it's a d8, whereas the poor Alchemist had to be doing specific damage types, and it was the intelligence modifier, which is more consistent but less damage overall. So, at least until later on. Level 9, you get Explosive Cannon. Your cannon can explode if you use a reaction to make it explode when it takes damage. Just 3d10 force damage on a failed save. Each creature within range of it has to do that, which means it has to be away from you and your friends, which is weird. But it also does an extra d8 of damage to all of its things, an extra d8 of healing, which is scaling, which is good, as I've previously mentioned. And then the final one is Fortify to Position at level 15. This lets you have 2 cannons, which you can make with the same magic action, and you can order around with the same bonus action. That's wild. Also, you and your allies get half cover while within 10 feet of the Eldritch Cannon. That's amazing. I think that's preposterously good, don't you? So I'm going to say it, even if nobody else is brave enough to do so. I think the Artillerist is better than the Battlesmith. By, like, a little bit. Not loads, but I do think it's better. So, there you go. On to the new subclasses now. How exciting. Cartographer is here. Cartographer gets Calligrapher's and Cartographer's tools. So generous. You also get half time for spell scroll scribing, which is very, very good. And you get Fairy Fire and Guiding Bolt, Healing Word, which are all cool. Locate Object and Mind Spike, which are bad. Cool Lightning and Clairvoyance, which are fine. Banishment and Locate Creature, which are thematic. And Scrying and Teleportation Circle, which are also thematic. This is not a good spell list at all, unfortunately. Fitting, sure, not good. You get your Adventurous Atlas, which lets you make some maps equal to a number of creatures of 1 plus your intelligence modifier. You give these to people, which show relative to position to each other, but are legible to anyone other than the people you've designated. Lasts until you die, until you use the feature again. The target person holding the map gets an extra d4 on their initiative rolls, which is something. And also always know the location of everyone else who has a map, as long as they're on the same plane of existence. You can also always target, when casting a spell or creating another effect that requires being able to see the effect's target, a map holder can target another map holder regardless of sight or cover, as long as the map holder is still within the effect range. This is good for all spellcasters, not just you, which means that other spellcasters can be like, hey, it's a healing word, even if I can't see you, even if I can't remember if you need to see people for healing word. But still, there's lots of spells in D&D. I'm sure it's pretty relevant a lot of the time. You also get Mapping Magic at level 3. This lets you cast Fairy Fire without expending a spell slot. You can do this number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, and you regain usage on a long rest. This, much like Hunter's Mark, locks you into the concept of just casting Fairy Fire as your concentration spell, which is not ideal. Also, on your turn, you can spend an amount of movement equal to half your speed to teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 10 feet of yourself or within 5 feet of a creature that was in 30 feet of you and holding one of your atlases. You can't do this if your speed is 0. That's really cool. The teleportation thing is a little niche, and I don't think that goes up, but it's fine. Guided Precision at level 5. This might be the worst of the bunch. Taking damage won't cause you to lose concentration on Fairy Fire, and once per turn, when you cast a spell from your Cartographer spell list or hit a creature affected by your Fairy Fire with an attack roll, you can add your intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of the spell or attack. This is worse than the Alchemist by a couple of measures. That's quite impressive. Level 9, Ingenious Movement. When you use your Flash of Genius, I need to turn the fan on, hold on. Oh, that's better. I don't think you can hear it on the microphone, but if you can suddenly hear, if it sounds differently suddenly, please keep in mind it's for my health. I don't want you to worry about my health, but you should care that I'm not, sweating. Anyway, when you use Flash of Genius or a willing creature of your choice within 30 feet of yourself, you or a willing creature of your choice within 30 feet of yourself can teleport up to 30 feet. I actually quite like that. It's really thematically fitting. It's quite cool to be like, hey, you get a buff to this thing and you can teleport. The issue is, if you're giving someone a buff to the saving throw, for example, they might not need to teleport if they've saved against the spell, right? So it's a little... It kind of attacks itself. It's a bit of a weird one. Level 15, Superior Atlas. When a map holder would be reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, the creature can destroy its map. The creature's hit points instead change to a number equal to twice your Artificer level, which is 30 at this point, and the creature teleports to a space within 5 feet of you or another map holder of its choice. This is really cool and feels like something that you can abuse. And then if you are one of the map holders for your Atlas, you can cast Find the Path without expending a spell slot. That's a bad spell. You find the most direct physical route to a location you name. You must be familiar with the location, which means you need to know where it is, and for somehow not have a map. A normal map. That's a real mixed bag at the end there, isn't it? I didn't even put Cartographer on the list. Here you go. Cartographer! It's not enough. It's not D tier, because I like the vibe. I think that might be the thing stopping it from being D tier. But it's not good either, right? I had a player who was going to play the Cartographer. I came up with a laundry list of fixes for them, including that they just didn't have to concentrate on Fairy Fire from level 5 onwards. Like I said, it's the Hunter's Mark problem. It's fine. Spell list is flavor's on point. Congrats on the flavor. Reanimator. Oh, this is the newest one. Spells. You get False Life, Spare the Dying, and Witch Bolt. You get Blindness, Deafness, and Enhance Ability. You get Animate, Dead, and Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt is good for the spell storing item. I think I already said that. If I didn't, it is. Blight and Death Ward, Anti-Life Shell, and Raise Dead. You get to, when you cast Spare the Dying, you can revive a creature, basically, which is nice. You also deal a little bit of damage around you, which is also nice. I don't hate it. And you get access to alchemy supplies, but you don't get to halve your potion production, sorry. You can also make a dude. The dude in combat is bonus action, as so many pets are. It does 1d4 plus your intelligence modifier as necrotic damage, and the target can't take opportunity attacks until your next turn. Also, it gets hit points back when you deal lightning damage to it, or when it takes lightning damage, which makes it right, so the concept at level 3 here, right, is you go, amazing. When I get access to Lightning Bolt, I can have my companion in combat, being my tank, Lightning Bolt through the enemies. It'll be amazing. Level 5, you get Strange Modifications. This allows you to cast spells as though you were in your companion's space, but you must use your own senses. Once per turn, when you cast an Artificer spell from the Evocation or Necromancy school and deal damage, when your companion is within 120 feet of you, you can add your Intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of that spell. Also, the damage dice goes from 1d4 and 1d6. Oh, it's going to keep improving. This is amazing. That's 1 whole point of extra damage. I'm fine. It's fine. The level 9, the Death Burst that triggers when it dies goes up to 4d4 at level 9. Oh, gee willikers, mister. Also at level 9, you get Macabre Modifications. You can choose 2 options when you use Strange Modifications. Wow, Strange Modifications at level 5, the Arcane Conduit or the Ferocity. Right, yes, you don't get both of those, you get to choose. I forgot. There's no way it should be like that. Oh, this thing's awful. So yeah, you can choose 2 options and you get some new options. You can make your creature large. When it does the Dreadful Swipe, it can push, and you can add your Intelligence modifier to the Death Burst. You can make it Gaunt, which makes it faster and gives it a climb speed. Also, it's frightening and can frighten creature within 10 feet of it. Or you can make it Moist and give it a swim speed. It can move through a small thing. And if something hits it within 10 feet, it takes acid damage equal to your intelligence modifier. None of these are good. These are all bad. Why are these all bad? Why does it not get extra attack anymore? God damn it. I don't understand. Level 15, you get Refined Reanimation. You can cast Raise Dead once without expending a spell slot. Blah, 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 blah. Once per long rest. Life Transfer. You can siphon the magic of your Reanimator companion to bolster yourself. When you or your companion take damage, you can take a reaction to gain hit points equal to your companion's current hit points to make it die. And when you create a Reanimator companion, it gains 3 options for modifications. Making the companion is a magic action. You can only do it once per long rest unless you create a spell slot. This also does last until it dies, or until you die. It does not last for an hour like the cannon. For some reason. It's the inconsistency that really bugs me, you know? Anyway, that's naff. So, I'm going to put this in D. I'm sure there are people out there who are really excited about the flavour and the vibes and what you can do with the Reanimated Companion. And man, I love me some Frankenstein and so on, but oh, it's awfully executed. So, no thank you. Next, we have the 2 third-party options. Forge Adept, Smith's Tools, half time for magic weapons or weapons. You get Forge Adept spells, you get Armour of Agathis, Shield of Faith, Spiritual Weapon, Warding Bond, Beacon of Hope, Remove Curse, Death Ward, Fire Shield, Banishing Smite, Wall of Force. These are fine. Shield of Faith is great, I love Shield of Faith. Armour of Agathis is fine. I don't love it on half-casters, to be perfectly honest. Spiritual Weapon is a really solid bonus action, so we're here for that. And then you've got some other spells, which are okay. Also, Battle Ready, you can just use your Intelligence modifier when you attack with Magic Weapon, which is nice. You also gain proficiency with martial weapons, and you can use martial weapon with which you have proficiency as your spellcasting focus. You also get Guile Shara, which allows you to make a weapon better. So straight at level 3, you can take a non-magical weapon, make it magical, give it a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, and it gains the Thrown property with a normal range of 30 and a long range of 120 feet, and it returns to your hand immediately after using it to make a ranged attack roll. That's amazing! That's absolutely incredible. We love it. Level 5, extra attack. Double the attacks. Cool. Level 9, Runes of War. You get a +2 bonus to your attack roll with your special weapon, unless it already had that or better. And as a magic action, you can begin radiating a bolstering aura in a 30-foot emanation from you. You choose the damage type from among the chromatic options. While within the aura, you and your allies deal an extra d4 of the chosen damage when hitting with a weapon or unarmed strike. It lasts until you use it again. So it lasts for minutes or until you use it again or until you end it. You can do it a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. Amazing. This is a really cool feature. Level 9 is a big old stretch if you're in a campaign that's taking a while to level up. He says, as somebody that's playing in one, the modules are so weirdly paced, man. My DM is a genius, and if it was not for him, I would not be enjoying it. And then level 15, your weapon goes up to a +3, unless it's already better. Additionally, the first time you attack with your special weapon, you can transfer some of the bonus to your AC, which lasts until the start of your next turn. So you can forego some attack to have more defense, which is really, really cool. Also, when you hit with it, you choose one of the chromatic ones again, and it deals an extra 1d6 of the chosen type, which is super cool. It can also deal all of that damage, or deal the normal weapon, and you gain resistance to psychic damage and immunity to both charmed and frightened conditions. This is a really good subclass, isn't it? The psychic damage resistance is a little middling. There's not that many creatures that do psychic damage, but man, this Artificer wants to hit things. It gets better at hitting things a good turn. +2 at level 9 is fantastic. Remember, the Armourer got a +1 at that point. The Battlesmith gets nothing apart from the normal items it can make. And these +2s and +3s that this one gets are on top of the magic items that you can be making, which means you can be a little more free with the items that you are crafting and are potentially giving them to other people or use them for other things. Maybe you want 2 magic weapons. Good news. I do wish this and the Battlesmith got weapon masteries and maybe a fighting style. It's my only criticism of this one. I had other criticisms for the Battlesmith. Do I love it enough to put it in S? You know what? I'm gonna, as a treat from me, to you, and also to Keith Baker, who wrote the subclass. One more to go. How long is this video coming in at? I've been recording for 44 minutes. This thing only has 7 subclasses. Oh god. The fight is gonna kill me. Oh, right. Maverick. This is so complicated, so I am going to summarize. Tinker's Tools. Cool. Magic item crafting is halved. Just all magic item crafting. This is the jack of all trades. Maverick Spells. You learn a cantrip of your choice from Artificer, Cleric, or Wizard. the chosen cantrip counts as an Artificer spell, and you can use your intelligence modifier. Also, anytime you prepare Artificer spells, you can prepare an additional number of spells equal to your proficiency bonus, which can be from the Artificer, Cleric, or Wizard spell lists. These are also Artificer spells. This makes your spell storing item one of the strongest things in the game, because you can choose any number of fantastic spells. It's very cool. You also get Arcane Prototype. I am going to speed run my explanation of this. I covered it all in my review of the thing, but basically at different levels you have different numbers of prototypes. In the prototype, you have a max spell level, as you can see in the table, and arcane charges. An arcane charge is equal to 1 spell level. So, at level 3, you can have 1 prototype with a maximum level of 1, basically. For the Artificer level 5, you get 2 prototypes, your max spell level is 2, and you have 3 charges, which means you can have a 1 and a 2, not 2 2s. Right? 3, you get it. Maths. 9 is 3 and 3. So max spell level 3, and you get 5 arcane charges, which means that you can do a level 3 spell and then 2 level 1 spells, or a level 2 spell, or 2 level 2s and 1 level 1, right? Maths. Also at level 20, you get 5 of these. Your max spell level is 6, which it has been since 17, so you just get access to 6th level spells as an Artificer, and that's super cool. Level 5, whenever you cast an Artificer spell while you have the Tinker's Tools in your possession, any Artificer spell, you can add your intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of the spell. Nifty. That includes Fireball for you, although it did for the one that gets Fireball as well, I think. Work in progress at level 9. Whenever you finish a short rest, you can replace a prepared spell with a new spell from Artificer, Cleric, or Wizard. It still counts as an Artificer spell, and at level 15, when you finish a short rest, you can swap a spell contained in your prototype for another spell of the same level, chosen from the usual spell lists. In addition, you ignore all class, species, spell, and level requirements on attuning to or using a magic item. This thing is so cool, and it's so damn complicated, and it's implemented so poorly on D&D Beyond. It's awful. I think the Maverick is beyond cool. I think the flexibility it offers is absolutely huge. However, I do have a criticism, and the criticism is you're playing as a full caster, really. This is the full caster, half caster spell subclass, right? And that's a tough sell. It's very hard to justify being this over something like just a pure wizard when you get access to the wizard spell list anyway, or like the Arcana Domain Cleric, for example, where you get access to a bit of both. It's amazing, and I adore the vibe of it, and I do think it's quite strong, but I do also think that the focus entirely on spellcasting probably lowers its potency a little bit. So I'm going to put it in A, but I'm going to put it at the bottom of A. I think it's fantastic, and I desperately do want to play one at some point, but I also think it's really complicated, which should factor into it. You need to have a lot of knowledge to play this correctly, and while I didn't include that for the other stuff, I do think it's relevant here when you're getting access to 3 spell lists. So there you go. Here are my final positions for the tier list. We have 1 in S, 3 in A, which is more than I thought they were going to be, 2 in B, 1 in C, 1 in D. Honestly, I might have been too harsh in the Reanimator, but my frustration with it is immeasurable, so it's staying down there. But, just my opinion, man. Let me know if you enjoyed this. I guess next would be Barbarian, alphabetically speaking, so that could be fun. There's a lot of really cool third-party ones there too. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you're well and continuing to do well. I hope that wherever you are, you have a wonderful weekend ahead of you, because this should be a Thursday video, and I will see you whenever it is I next see you. Do take care of yourself. Goodbye.